We live in an age where one wrong word can go viral, end your career, and even ruin your life. Anyone who has ever posted online knows the feeling. You carefully select those 280 characters knowing that what you write can be read by anyone, anywhere, at any time. And the scariest part is not knowing what might be your undoing. Is that joke about pineapple on pizza going too far? Is that meme offensive? Will that political tweet backfire? Now we must navigate our lives with a minefield of potential offense lurking around every corner. It seems like we're walking on eggshells, trying not to offend anyone. But where did this all begin? How did we come to this point? Are we really free to speak, or just free until we offend someone? This is a debate, and today we'll explore both sides of the question. Is protecting free speech still possible? We often hear politicians and activists claiming to defend free speech while simultaneously calling for restrictions on certain types of online speech. But what exactly is free speech? According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's the right to express your opinions without censorship or punishment. That sounds simple enough, but the truth is determining when speech becomes harmful and in need of censorship isn't so clear-cut. One person's opinion can easily be another person's hate speech. But who decides where that line is drawn? Should we let social media companies and their algorithms become the new moral authority deciding what is acceptable for us to say and think? The answer is no. To truly protect free speech, we need clarity and consistency in its application. Unfortunately, we've been moving away from this ideal. Instead, we've created a climate of fear where many people avoid expressing their opinions for fear of being labeled as offensive or hateful. This climate is fueled by three major factors, none of which serve to protect free speech. First, there's cancel culture, a term used to describe the practice of withdrawing support from public figures or entities after they have done or said something considered objectionable or offensive. Cancel culture aims to hold individuals or organizations accountable for their actions or statements. Second, there's AI moderation. With millions of users sharing content every day, social media companies have turned to artificial intelligence to moderate user-generated content, scan it for potentially problematic content, and remove it before it spreads. Third, there's the erosion of trust in institutions. In recent years, several high-profile cases have raised questions about the impartiality of law enforcement and the legal system in dealing with issues of free speech. These three factors don't protect free speech. They actively work against it. And in the age of instant communication and viral outrage, one wrong word or phrase can derail your life. People are genuinely afraid to speak up because they fear being misunderstood, ridiculed, or worse, having their livelihoods destroyed. But is this fear warranted, or is it a sign that we've lost sight of what free speech actually means? Cancel culture is often seen as a way to hold people accountable for their words or actions. But does it really achieve that goal? Supporters of cancel culture argue that it's simply a form of accountability. We have the power to make or break careers based on the quality of a person's character or conduct. But critics see it as a dangerous form of mob justice. In other words, it's not about holding people accountable, it's about punishing them. This view holds that cancel culture targets individuals based on groupthink and the desire for immediate gratification rather than through careful consideration and due process. But perhaps the most concerning aspect of cancel culture is that it appears to be a double standard. The same people who call for silencing those they disagree with are often the same ones who demand the right to free speech when their own views are at stake. For example, many of those who support the removal of offensive content online are quick to condemn any attempts to limit their own ability to post or comment on controversial topics. This hypocrisy highlights a key issue with cancel culture. It often lacks due process. Those accused of wrongdoing are rarely given the opportunity to defend themselves or to provide context before they are called out. This can result in the unfair and unjust condemnation of individuals or groups, damaging their reputations and careers without allowing them to tell their side of the story. Or is it simply a way to appease an angry mob? So does cancel culture really serve the purpose of justice? AI moderation is increasingly being used to enforce rules and remove offensive or inappropriate content from online platforms. However, the use of AI in this context raises several concerns. First and foremost, AI algorithms are trained on existing data sets, which means they can perpetuate and even amplify existing biases. For example, If a platform trains its AI moderation system on past reports of hate speech, which often target certain groups or individuals, the algorithm may learn to unfairly target those same groups or individuals in the future. Second, AI lacks the common sense and understanding of context that humans possess. This can lead to situations where perfectly innocent speech is flagged and removed simply because it contains certain keywords or phrases. For example, a post discussing the Holocaust could be removed because the AI identifies terms like Holocaust or Nazi as hateful or offensive without understanding the historical or educational context of the post. Finally, AI moderation removes the human element from the process, which is crucial when dealing with complex issues like hate speech and free speech. Human moderators can take into account the intent, context, and various other factors when making decisions about what to remove and what to allow, and protect users from harmful content. It also poses significant risks to free speech and the right to express oneself online. AI, on the other hand, operates solely on algorithms and data, which can lead to unfair and inaccurate decisions. In short, while AI moderation has the potential to help platforms enforce their rules, the question is, where do we draw the line between hate speech and protected free speech? As philosopher and author Salman Rushdie said, free speech is essential to the way our society functions. It is the bedrock of the freedom we cherish and the cornerstone of democracy. However, the increasing polarization of our societies and the rise of identity politics have made this question more complicated than ever. On one hand, there's the argument that hate speech should be restricted to protect vulnerable groups from harassment and incitement to violence. Because of their race or religion, can legitimately be restricted as it poses a clear and present danger to public safety. On the other hand, restricting hate speech can be seen as a slippery slope towards censorship and the suppression of unpopular opinions. One approach to finding a balance between these two perspectives is to distinguish between speech that incites violence and speech that is merely offensive or hateful. Incitement to violence, such as calling for people to be killed or harmed, offensive or hateful speech. On the other hand, while it may be unpleasant or even hurtful, does not pose the same level of threat. This distinction allows for a more nuanced approach to regulating hate speech, targeting only the most harmful forms while leaving room for the expression of unpopular or controversial opinions. However, finding the right balance between protecting vulnerable groups and allowing for free speech remains an ongoing challenge. As we move forward, it's essential to remember that free speech is not an absolute right. It comes with responsibilities. We must be willing to engage in difficult conversations and confront uncomfortable ideas in order to uphold this fundamental right. We must also be willing to listen to different perspectives and to understand the experiences of those who are different from us. Only then can we create a society that respects free speech while also protecting vulnerable groups from hate and discrimination. In conclusion, the balance between protecting free speech and preventing harm is a delicate one. While it's essential to allow for the free exchange of ideas, it's also important to protect vulnerable groups from hate speech and incitement to violence. Finding the right balance requires careful consideration and a willingness to engage in difficult conversations. As we continue to grapple with this issue, it's important to remember that we all have a role to play in upholding the values of free speech and equality. By educating ourselves and others, by engaging in respectful dialogue, and by holding those in power accountable, we can create a better world for everyone. So I ask you, how do we strike this balance? Together, we can make a difference. Where do we draw the line between hate and opinion? Join the conversation. Your voice matters. Let's work together to find solutions. Thank you for watching this episode of The Debate. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends.